Hello, Chiefs Kingdom, and welcome to the Arrowhead Kingdom Chiefs cast live from the Wolf Den. I'm Chris.
And I'm Josh, and tonight we are going to be talking about the NFL schedule, which was released, specifically the Chiefs schedule. Big reminder that all Chiefs fans are invited to join us for game day. Visit arrowheadkingdom.org to learn more about the group and to find your local chapter. Please also make sure to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And we are, of course, presented by Complete Weddings and Events, your leading provider of photo, video, DJ, photo booth lighting, and coordination services. Please visit them at completewedo.com.
Yep, and just as Josh said, we'll be talking about the Kansas City Chiefs 2022 schedule, which was announced here earlier this evening.
Yep. So I think it's interesting. I like how the NFL has done a lot of this. I remember it a lot last year, and I feel like they've done it a little bit the past probably 4 or 5 years. But they go to set a date to release the schedule and leak, 10% of it by the time that you even think about getting into that day, and they're kind of putting the interesting stuff out. So I mean, the NFL's been dominating headlines. We've known that week 2 was going to be our home opener against the Chargers. I had heard all these rumors that we were going to Houston first, but that's not the case, and we'll get into the specifics of that. But before we get into the schedule, I think something needs to come up. Brian was not with us last week when we talked about our draft haul, and we in particular missed out talking about our 4th overall pick from the second round, number 30 overall, a safety from Cincinnati, Brian with a Y, Cook. And if there's anything that I know about Brian, is that he has a strong opinion on a Brian with an I versus Brian with a Y. I feel like one is a professional at witchcraft and the other is to be trusted. Is that correct?
I remember being in college back in the mid 2000s, and I'm sure they still do this, but they had like the get to know you game, whatever, that you say who you are and your name, and the guy before me was named Brian, and then it was my turn. I go, okay, I'm Brian. I turn around and go, hey, so how do you spell your name? He goes, with an I. Do you not trust guys to spell it with a Y? I was like, how dare you, sir? I spell it with a Y. And after that, we threw that. We slapped hands like this.
Did you guys throw down in fisticuffs?
Yeah, it was more like this. No. I've learned to make peace with my brides with eyes, brethren. I don't know how they feel about me, but you know what? I'm happy to take the high road. And if they Brian's with the guys don't want to do that, that's on them. But I'll do the high road. That's cool with me, I guess. Cool.
Have you ever done a mathematical analysis of how many I's versus Y's there are?
I have not done a mathematical analysis, but I'm pretty sure, based on my own experience, I think Brian with the I is the default Brian.
So I think so. You're like left-handed of Brian's. Is that what you are?
Yeah, there you go. You're the left-handed
that's
of
a
Brian's.
good way. Yeah.
So that's about 10%, right? You're the left-handed of Brian's. I mean,
I'm the left-handed of Brian's.
Elitist or anything like that.
No, yeah, it's I've just come to accept it. Emails, messages, texts of people who just got to know me and they send me with I learned not to I don't even correct anybody, honestly. And they let them find it out on their own. I'm not going to be that guy. However, I will say that on one of my console gaming online, it is Brian, and I have with a Y in parentheses. So I identify it there. But no, if you spelled an I in email, then I'm not going to not hire you or like think less of anything. It's just how it is. But yep, I guess I am the left-handed of the Brian world.
Got it. Okay. Well, glad we got that out of the way. I mean, we can close now, right?
Yeah, I think we're done. Is that it? So that's what the people wanted, right?
Sure.
My opinion on Brian with I and Y's.
All right. Let's talk about the schedule. So like I mentioned before, all the rumors were that we were going to be playing Houston first, which I thought that was going to be a good warm-up game. So the first 4 weeks is very, very road heavy. So the season is starting the Thursday before September 11th. So yeah, September 11th is actually the Sunday opener for the league. So that's in and of itself kind of a bummer.
That's a bummer of a day.
Yeah, total bummer. But we're actually on the road in Phoenix, or I believe it's pronounced Pahonix.
Phoenix. I believe he adds Phoenix.
It's actually technically Glendale, Arizona, which is north and west of the city, right next.
It'd be
to
funny if they were in New Jersey too somehow, like the New York Giants are.
That'd be funny.
Yeah.
So we're not playing that division this year, but no. So we're down in Phoenix, and we have the 3:25 game, so we should be the CBS marquee game. And we all know that the Cardinals started fast last year, so that's pretty much the exact opposite of playing the Houston Texans. Then we're home. All the rumors that I saw was that was going to be on 9/14, which is a Wednesday, but we have the Amazon Prime premiere, which is versus the LA, not San Diego Chargers. That's at home. And those seem to be a pretty hot aftermarket ticket right now based on things. Then we go down to, Chris and I would go down if we do this. We have Indianapolis, so not Annapolis, Maryland, Indianapolis. We're at the Colts week 3, which is 9:25.
Spite you, I'm going to go to spite you. I will go to that now because
that would be awesome. So Brian's going to be in Maryland, and
I'll be in Maryland.
Everyone else will be in Indiana. But then the fourth game is a really exciting one. I am still ticked off that this game is not in Germany, but week 4 is the Super Bowl rematch in Tampa versus the Bucks on 10-2.
Yeah,
and I'm just going to scoop. I'm just going to scoop something right now. We're going through all the Arrowhead Kingdom plans for what the big events are going to be. This will be the mother of road games. We're going to have some good support for all road games. This one's going to be number 1. This is the one where, if you followed any of the stuff that Arrowhead South did with the Super Bowl and what ultimately put Arrowhead Kingdom together, it was that game. And so they had a band, they rented out a minor league soccer stadium. So if you're looking at getting on the road for one game, Tampa is the one that you should do. Sunday Night Football, 7:20. The Chargers is a primetime game. So we have the CBS afternoon flagship, 2 primetime games and a noon game against the Colts in the first 4. Chris, anything else that you noticed besides those points of the first 4 games?
No, I mean, I actually like playing the Cardinals right out of the gate because I really think that Andy Reid is going to coach the pants off of Cliff Kingsbury, and I'm very anxious to see that, and also very curious to see this what's going to be a revamped defense against Kyler Murray. So sure. I think it's going to be a really good game, and we'll talk about this later on, but still I like that matchup.
Yep. So again, kind of set some ground rules here. We're not going to be going through and picking a record for this one, mainly because
14 and 4.
Come up with more
what I just do.
Yeah.
You added a game to the regular season.
Yeah. How about that? Plot twist.
Yeah, there you go. We've got
a bye week on the schedule.
We got a long enough off season. We're gonna have to come up with stuff to talk about. So we're not gonna use it all up now. Brian, anything that you're seeing out of those first 4 games?
Does that Watt guy still play for the Cardinals?
He does.
Does who?
JJ
Watt. Yeah.
Remember when we tried to coax him to get on the Chiefs with a what was that?
It was a bunch sandwich. Of McDoubles. Yeah, it was a McDouble. No, we were gonna bring the McRib back.
Oh, the McRib. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
That's what it was. We were gonna have Andy Reid pulling a favor with local McDonald's to get the McRib back.
I just hate that didn't work out.
I do too. I don't know what his problem was, but
I mean, yeah, I guess the marquee story is the Bucks game with Tom Brady, who it was my understanding he was retired, but he was like, nah, I'm just gonna unretire, I guess. And Tanya, my wife, asked me, you can do that? I'm like, yeah, he can do whatever he wants, I think. He didn't sign a contract saying I'll never play.
Yeah.
I will never play in the NFL again. I mean, I guess technically Joe Montana could do that. He probably won't hold up very well, but he could. He'd try if he wanted, I guess.
Terrell Owens is trying. 48 years old. Terrell Owens is trying. I mean, what Tom Brady did. Yeah. When you look at Tom Brady's actual age, what he's doing is unique. But I mean, to sit there and waffle is not odd. All the rumors in the offseason were that Brady was trying to do, one of 2 things, and it was either get Bruce Arians to quit being the coach because he didn't like the lack of discipline on the team. These are all rumors. I mean, who the hell knows if any of this is true? Or he was trying to force a move to Miami, which thank God we don't have to watch him throw balls at Tyreek Hill. That would be horrible. I wouldn't enjoy that one bit. Yeah, I agree. The Bucks is a marquee game, but I don't know. It's something about that second game being the inaugural Amazon Prime game seems big to me as well. But
I think we're gonna ship ourselves a win, if you know what I mean. No charge.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, the only other thing that I would point out is maybe interesting as we go down to the Colts and they redid their entire team. They seem to be the front runner to sign Julio Jones to reunite him with Matt Ryan since the Carson Wentz 1 year experiment.
Did that really good running back stick around?
He did, yeah. Jonathan Taylor's still there.
Taylor. Yeah. He was my dude.
Yep. No, many folks won a fantasy league last year by picking that guy as most likely the 5th running back, in most drafts that I saw. So
I like the idea that like the Bucks were supposed to be the Germany game. But they're like, whoa, that's Mahomes and Brady now. That's going into the time slot that is primetime television. Germany, maybe you can get a Jets Miami game. But they're not.
Well, no, it's actually the Seahawks and the Bucks. So the Bucks are still going.
Okay.
I remember Clark Hunt coming out and saying that he was bummed out that we weren't the home team for that game. And if I'm not mistaken, Clark Hunt is still the head of the overseas expansion committee with the NFL. So I could see him trying to bail on that game maybe, which I think would be unfortunate. But what I do believe is that all international games should be exclusively pulled from 17th games because you're going to have both the conferences and nobody's giving up one of, 8 home games. So I think it would have been unfortunate if the Chiefs gave up a home game. I can tell you I wouldn't spend an entire season pissing and moaning about it like Adam Teicher did when we went to England and beat the pants off the Detroit Lions. But he complained about that the entire year, and it got pretty overbearing. And it actually made it kind of hard to read his stuff, because he couldn't write an article without putting that in there. And I'm just like, do you have a quota where you have to put 200 words of nonsense in this? Because that's all this is at this point, especially after they won the game. If you want to rehash how much, concession wages were lost by line level workers, then fine, you can talk about that. But it is what it is. The overseas games are going to happen, but I think those should come out of the 17th game. But moving into weeks 5 through 8, the bye week is week 8, so we will have that the weekend of Halloween. Essentially, that seems a little bit earlier than we want it to be from my standpoint, but that's probably about as early as you want it. Week 8's fine. But so our 3 games, we have our 3rd primetime game in 5 weeks, the first 5 weeks of the season, where we host the Raiders. So that'll be on ESPN for Monday Night Football. Then we have following that on Sunday, October 16th, the rematch of the game of the century, where we host Buffalo. And then we go out to San Francisco to play the 49ers in October. So we got the Raiders and Bills at home, and then we go out to San Francisco. So we follow a 3 road, 1 home with a 2 home, 1 road bye week next block of 4. So Brian, what do you think of any of that? Anything jumping out at you aside from just intense rivalries and a Super Bowl rematch?
Yeah, man, freak on a leash, man. Just like Tom Brady, we got the Raiders, and even though like it's easy to be dismissive, but like they always play hard, and we've seen some things happen with them, and it's a rivalry game. People tend to rise to the occasion for rivalry games. Then the Bills, holy crap, this is pretty intense. And 49ers, that seems like also a lost potential territory here. This is a rough one as far as I'm concerned. It looks pretty tough.
Yeah, we have a tough schedule. That's been made pretty clear. Chris, anything else jumping out at you?
Man, I'm looking forward to playing the 49ers again. I think Trey Lance is going to be probably starting for them. So, I mean, again, I'm really curious to see how. I think the Chiefs' style this year may be closer to the 49ers than it will be to the Bills. So again, that's a matchup that I'm very curious to see how that plays out.
All righty. So let's get into what we'll call the third semester. I don't know. however you want to call this, the third quarter, season. So we have week 9 where we're hosting Tennessee. Week 10, we host Jacksonville. Tennessee is a Sunday night football game. So that is our fourth of 5 primetime games we get this season. Then Jacksonville is a standard issue garden variety noon game. Then we have the 2 ends of Thanksgiving are in Los Angeles on the 20th of November, and then hosting the Los Angeles Rams on November 27th. So that would be the Sunday after Thanksgiving. So that's three playoff teams. You have one that should be. We have the number 1 seed from the AFC last year. We have the Super Bowl winner. We have a team that should have made the playoffs and the number 1 overall pick in that group of 4. So that's ultimately my takeaway. And the one extra thing that I will add is this is Andy Reid coming off a bye week against Tennessee, when the last time we played them, we lost 30-3 or something stupid like that.
That was ugly. Yeah,
that is a revenge game written all over it. The rest of them just seems like a good slate of football in Jacksonville. So Chris, what are your thoughts?
I think that game in Los Angeles may decide a division. I mean, November 20th and SoFi.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm definitely going to be marking that down as a pivotal game.
Sure. Yeah, Brian, anything you're thinking here?
Yeah, Tennessee, we have to undo what happened last year. It's rare that you watch a game and you don't have any fun for the whole game when you're a Chiefs fan right now. So that was the only fun was the first 4 minutes of the game, or the kickoff was cool, I guess. And the rest of it was they ran away with everything.
You want to know what I thought was fun about that game? I was in Manhattan the day after a friend's wedding, and we went to Kites in Aggieville. It was fun figuring out that we were going to go to Kites. It was fun driving down there, and that was pretty much the end of the fun for me. I mean, that one sucked wall to wall. And I distinctly remember that game being the one where I seriously considered dipping a toe in the Fire Spags pool. I think I was pretty consistently not in favor of that last year. And my general belief is, what good is going to come out of making a change at a coordinator, head coach level in the middle of a season when you're trying to actually accomplish something? And that game made me actually question that belief.
I don't know if I would have put that game on Spags, though. It's just my personal opinion. I mean, that was a rough game, but by the offense.
No, I mean that game was just horrible. That game was just horrible. Everything about that game.
Everything was, yeah.
And after 2 ugly 1 possession losses from Baltimore, and I think the other one was LA, right? It was what was going on here? So that was
exactly.
We're all bummed out, but we made it. We had through to the AFC.
So third quarter, 3 home games, 1 road game. Then we get into the fourth quarter, and this one's got some revenge as well. So we go back to Cincinnati on Sunday, December 4th. So instead of the beginning of January like last season, we go at the beginning of December, followed by at Denver Sunday, the 11th. That is another Sunday night football game, our 5th primetime game that's scheduled right now. Then we finally go to Houston on Sunday, December 18th, and then we host the Seahawks on Christmas Eve. So that Cincinnati game, I mean, I that's a 6-hour drive, 8-hour drive, depending on how the Chicago thing works out. So, I mean, that's one that I'm kind of thinking I want to go down and raise some havoc, and maybe that one ends up being an Arrowhead Kingdom thing as well. That Denver game, I mean, I think it's really interesting how we're on a pretty long run of having Denver backloaded in our season. So we're going to get 2 games and cold weather and everything. So that's going to be interesting. We should know if Russ is cooking by then. That game in Houston should be a nice warm weather, getting a dome kind of relief. And then that Christmas Eve one, I don't really know what we're going to see out of Seattle. I don't think it's going to be much, but if you think about the NFC West, they were supposed to be the class of football last year. And, our division, the AFC West is supposed to be this year. And, who knows? I can't say that I'd be shocked if we have, a Seattle or a San Francisco that, completely supplants Arizona, and that, I don't know, that could be an interesting game. So, Brian, anything jumping out at you?
Well, Bengals, obviously. You're going to Sin City, are you? I love Sin City. That's what I call Cincinnati, by the way.
It's technically the Queen City, right?
McQueen?
The Queen City, yeah. Queen City is what you call Cincinnati.
I have no idea. I know.
I call it crappy chili city, but yeah.
Well, the chili with the spaghetti.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm gonna be honest
yeah.
with you. I love Skyline chili. I really do. Anytime I'm in that area, I love to go in and get some
fine. Yeah.
4 or 5 way
Each
chili,
their
and
own.
I get the chili dogs, the little mini hot dogs and stuff like that. I am a fan of that food.
I know people who talk ish on the chili and cinnamon roll concoction that we talk about over here.
And they're wrong.
Yeah, of course they are.
That does sound appetizing to me.
It's phenomenal.
That's how you eat it. I mean, you had it at my house, Chris. We did that one game. So yeah.
We had that in school growing up. It was delicious. It's amazing.
Exactly. No, I think it's definitely fair game when you're in the middle of a playoff game to give guff to Cincinnati about their cinnamon chili and stuff like that. I think that's fair game, but I don't even have to be put on truth serum to tell you that I think that stuff is just good, and I thoroughly enjoy it every time I get a chance to eat it.
Yeah. So Bengals, that'll be fun. We need to avenge that second half. And if we want to put together 2 first halves and just kind of get it done like that, that'd be happy. That'd make me happy.
Yep. All right. So let's get into Chris, anything that you have to add? I guess we didn't really flip it to you. Sorry.
No, seeing the Broncos twice in a 4-week span. I mean, that's, yeah. I mean, yeah, I mentioned the Chargers game's gonna be pivotal too, but I mean, our division's so freaking good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking again. Yeah.
So here's how we end stuff. New Year's Day, which is Sunday, we have a noon game where we host the Broncos. That's going to be an interesting one. I don't think there's any question there. And then the way that the season ends is we are at the Vegas Raiders on Sunday, January 8th. Here's what I think is the most interesting part of that game. The time is TBD. And so I think it's great that the NFL is taking the move that week 18 is going to be division games, and they're not putting a time on anything, and they're going to completely wheel and deal what that schedule looks like.
The Saturday Sunday is also optional too. So
yeah, no, that's true. So actually, I'm gonna go ahead and pull up. Chris, go ahead and throw your thoughts out, but I'm gonna pull up the schedule for that last week and just see what they're calling out for the entire NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I think that game in Los Angeles is going to mean something, probably to both teams. I definitely think the Raiders will probably be either in or either needing to win to stay in the playoffs or vice versa. But yeah, I mean, that's a salty way to end your season right there at Vegas.
Brian, any thoughts you have?
TBD. You ever watch Arrested Development? There's an episode where they're like trying to raise money for some sort of cause, and the cause they put in there was TBD, as they didn't know what they were going to raise money for it, but they did it for so many years. They just decided TBD was the name of the disease.
Yeah.
Wasn't because Tobias was sick off of getting those hair plugs?
I think it was. Yeah. So yeah, Ron Howard's like so they decided to raise money for TBD.
It was like host versus something. I can't remember, but yeah. I love that episode.
So whenever you see TBD, my mind goes to that. I don't care if we want to pummel them in the ground in Vegas or in Kansas City or where. I don't care where it happens. I just do it. But it's I mean, we'll see what happens. Obviously, everyone's going to be you're going to be 17 games in by that point. So, or 16 games in by that point. Excuse me, I did it again. So we'll see what happens. But I just want to see a pummeling happen, if you will.
So let's look at the slate. I actually have this up, and so the way that ESPN is calling this out right now, every single one of the 16 matchups is on Sunday, January 8th, with a time TBD. So if my memory serves me correctly, they normally pull 2 or 4 games into Saturday, and then one of them will be Sunday Night Football. And so Sunday Night Football, they try to make the most impactful game. So do we think that that's what's going to happen again? Have we seen any intel saying anything else?
You mean as far as week 18?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what I think there's some type of limit on how many primetime games you can have in the season, but I mean, if the
They
Chiefs
say-
hadn't,
I don't know that there's anything explicitly written. Now,
okay,
5 is generally the most you're going to see.
I mean, if both of those teams are playing for something, I think it's going to be a primetime Sunday night. But
Well, so let's look at the rest of the matchups. So we have Tampa, Atlanta, New England, Buffalo, Minnesota, Chicago, Baltimore, Cincy, Chargers, Broncos, Lions, Packers, Houston, Indy, Chiefs, Raiders, Jets, Dolphins, Carolina, New Orleans, New York Giants, Philadelphia Eagles, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Arizona, San Francisco, Rams, Seahawks, Cowboys, Washington Commanders, and then Tennessee and Jacksonville. So digging into this, my pole position, if I had to pick something right now for the Sunday night game, is going to be that Chargers Broncos. Because while I think there's a possibility the Raiders are going to be playing something I would bet a pretty substantial amount of money that the Broncos and Chargers both are. The other games that really jump out at me are the Patriots and Bills, and the Ravens and Bengals. And so those are the ones that jump out at me as I 100% expect those to have playoff implications. I know we're going to get some surprises and so forth. I don't see a world where Tennessee and Jacksonville is anything other than the third game on whatever noon channel they happen to be on, unless you're in Tennessee, unless you're in Nashville or Jacksonville. I think that one's going to be a throwaway game. Houston, Indianapolis has throwaway game written all over it. The Packers playing the Lions, we'll watch that one because it's on TV here at home. Vikings, Bears kind of looks like a clunker to me. Jets, Dolphins, unless something really wild happens, that game is
leave my Jets alone.
Probably going to be blacked out everywhere, but
You leave them both alone.
yeah. So Chris, any of those games jump out at you that you think has a strong possibility of being impactful?
I'm some tunnel visioned right now in the AFC West. I mean, sure, there's probably a handful of them could be, but I think one of the AFC West games is probably going to be the most impactful of the weekend.
I would think so too. Here's another sleeper I'll throw out: Giants, Eagles. If for some reason the Giants actually put something together this year, or if the NFC East ends up being the battle for 9 and 8 team ends up winning the division, which I think that's the more likely scenario. That Giants Eagles game, I mean, the networks would trip over themselves moving that to Sunday Night Football.
I think the Giants are going to be in contention for the #1 overall pick this year. That's how confident I am on the Giants. But yeah,
I think so as well. But do you have a substantial amount of faith in the other 3 teams in that division?
it doesn't matter.
And it's New York. It's New York. If the New
I
York
don't care.
Giants have
I
a
don't
chance
care.
to win the NFC East, that game will be Sunday Night Football.
They won't, but fair enough.
Yeah. All right, Brian. Anything jumping out at you for week 18?
I like this discussion because it's like football fans and media planners. Like we're deciding the media schedule. Like, that's what I like about it.
Yeah.
I guess one implicates the other is like, well, what is a more like important game that people want to see on Sunday night versus but yeah, nothing really jumping out at me. I mean, I hate that we kind of glossed over the Dallas Washington game. Like, I feel like that's I don't know if they're gonna be doing anything, but that's always a rivalry that people get excited about, I guess. But
that falls into the same boat as that
does.
Giants Eagles that we were talking about. And, quite frankly, Cleveland and Pittsburgh will as well, if both of those teams are playing for big rivalries and stuff. I mean, if you're talking about teams with huge fan bases that are going to sit there and sway, media scheduling and stuff like that. I mean, if Dallas, New York, Philadelphia, will throw, Washington there, if the Bears for whatever reason are really good, the Steelers. I mean, those are places that are going to jump. But outside of that, I mean, I'm with Chris. I think the compelling TV is going to be Chiefs, Raiders, or Chargers, Broncos, and then you have Bills, Patriots. I mean, that's another one that could be really crazy. So.
I am not looking forward to Dallas Cowboys being Super Bowl contenders again, because that's just going to be so insufferable. That's going to suck.
I don't think you're going to have to worry about that.
I don't think you're going to have to worry.
I hope so, because when it does happen, they've been waiting for so long, like 20 some odd years, over 20 years. It's going to suck for everybody.
They're going to be getting at least one more year. I can tell you that.
Yeah. I mean, Brian, here's the thing. If that team goes out to an 8-4, record to start a season, you're going to hear it.
Yeah,
if they go out to a 4-1 record, you're going to hear it. So let's just look at
not looking forward to it. Absolutely.
So before we get into final takes, let's do one more We Them Boys projection thing. So here's what their schedule looks like. I'm just going to rattle off the teams in order, and we can give a 1 to 10 chance that we're going to be hearing about these guys with delusions of grandeur. So hosting Tampa, hosting Cincy, at New York Giants, hosting Washington, at Rams, at Eagles, hosting Detroit, hosting Chicago. They have the bye week in week 9. So of those first 8 games, there's no way in hell they're going to be anything like 6-2 from my perspective. I think they're more likely to be 2-6 than 6-2. So I see a 4-4 team is what I see.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a 500 team for most of the year.
Back half at the Packers in November, so before it gets horrible. At the Vikings, that's in a dome, so it doesn't matter. Then hosting the Giants, hosting the Colts, hosting the Houston Texans. I mean, that's got some 4-1 possibility. Then they're in Jacksonville. That could be a 5-1 possibility. Then they end the season hosting the Eagles, at Tennessee, at Washington. So I don't know. I mean, I honestly kind of expect the NFC East to end up being a who can get to 9-8 quickest, and that's going to be a chance to win the division, because they're playing the AFC South and the NFC North are the teams that they're going up against. And so, I think that those are probably two of the most enigmatic divisions. You just really don't know what you're going to get. I mean, who knows how Tennessee is going to shake out? Who knows what Matt Ryan has left in the tank to give the Colts? The Giants, if they end up being a good team, it's going to be because they surprise people. If the Commanders end up being a good team, it's because Ron Rivera ends up being an awesome coach, not because they went out and put a great roster together by any means. I think we're pretty confident that the Jags and the Texans are going to suck, but maybe Trevor Lawrence finally has something, and Urban Meyer really was the problem. I don't know. It could be interesting, but
I mean, at least Trevor Lawrence has a competent head coach going into this year. So, I mean, that's going to help him. Yeah.
True story.
I just want to say that as an SEO, I hate that Washington stopped calling themselves the football team, because that was way better for SEO than Commanders. So it's going to take me some adjustment for me to get used to that. I still kind of want to call them the football team now.
I do too.
I think it's okay if you call them the football team. I just think the only real taboo is you can't call them their old name.
I think you're right. Yeah, but I obviously not going to do that. But maybe that should be my final take. Is as an SEO, I hate that Washington is not the football team anymore. I kind of like that name.
All right, so we are into our final takes. Did you have another one?
I turned this car around, and I'm in the final takes here. Final takes. Let me think here. I do. No, I don't have one. I can't think of. Josh, you go.
Dude, you had a good one right there. You had a really good one.
I thought that counted. Okay, yeah. Okay,
No,
final
that
take.
does, that does count.
Yeah.
I didn't. It seemed like you made that up off the cuff. So if you had something planned, I was going to give you an opportunity. If not, that's a great final take. It really
Yeah,
is.
final take. Here it is, official. As an SEO, search engine optimization specialist, when we name things and we declare them, it's nice to be very specific about what it is. When you call something the Washington football team, people know what you're talking about. It's very specific, and you can't confuse that. I mean, unless you can put soccer into that, but for whatever. But football team describes exactly what we're talking about. As an SEO, I like it. But it comes back to Commanders. Well, I don't know if you're going to sell much merch of the football team. Maybe you do. I don't know. But as an SEO, I liked the football team because people know exactly what you're talking about. And they had the first name on that in the whole league. So no one else could call them, unless it's like the other football team. And you have a whole line of teams going, just remembering everyone, like referencing how they're a football team. But
football team. No, that's awesome. Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
So Washington football team abandoned the best SEO name that you
I
could
think
have.
so. Yeah.
So yeah, Dan Snyder's really good at business. I think that's what we established.
Moron he is. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Dan Snyder leading the league in business, sponsorships, and toxic workplaces since however long he's on the team. 20 years.
Douchery. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris, do you have anything good? You want me to go?
I guess I'm good. So last night my wife goes to me, do you think the Bucks are going to win the championship this year? And this was at halftime, and I said, I don't, because I don't think they're going to get past the Boston Celtics. I mean, that watching that game personally, I kind of thought that was going to be it for them when they lost game 4 and they got blown away in the fourth quarter. I thought that was their opportunity. And then being down 14 points in the fourth quarter, they just slowly kept wearing away at the Boston Celtics all the way until I think they grabbed their first lead since the first quarter with 11 seconds left to go, which on a very fitting way, which was a missed free throw by Giannis and a putback by Bobby Portis to take the lead. Now, my favorite parts of that game happened in the last 11 seconds. So to rewind a little bit, for any Kansas Jayhawk fan, especially in the year 2014, you will remember someone celebrating in the middle of the court in Allen Fieldhouse for the Oklahoma State Cowboys doing a backflip. This guy was also pretty infamous the rest of the season because he liked to be very dramatic anytime that a player would either make contact or be close to making contact with him. If you don't know who I'm talking about, it was the guy who crapped his pants in the last 11 seconds of that game because Drew Holiday just owned his ass, and that's Marcus Smart. And I cannot tell you how much pleasure I took in watching Marcus Smart get owned, both by getting rejected at the rim by Drew Holiday and then getting stripped of the ball with pretty minimal contact. And then there's the perfect picture of Marcus Smart going like this. I mean, really what Marcus Smart did is he just dribbled the ball away and Drew Holiday just picked it up. There was no contact made, but still you had a pretty classic image of Marcus Smart trying to draw a foul that wasn't theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. I think
old friend get humiliated again. So
yeah. Remember they introduced him at I think it was Iowa State, and all the student section goes, "You flop," and they all fell over.
Yeah. No, I go watch the re-air or the on-demand version of First Things First, which is Nick Wright, big Kansas City guy. His show, he has this whole thing. I won't do his entire deal, but he talks about how the basketball gods, because at around 4.5 minutes left in the game, Marcus Smart drew a foul on Giannis with this just monster of all flops. And, Nick Wright's whole thing is like, yeah, the basketball gods gave you the last 11 seconds. And, Drew Holiday, the real defensive player of the year, actually, owned the guy who got the award for the defensive player of the year. So I kind of reminded me of that KU national championship game. And
yeah, there's some similarities. Yeah.
Pretty wild stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Great win.
So my final take is glory Tottenham Hotspur. My soccer team played their third to last match today, and they played bitter rivals Arsenal. So this is how I've described. It's like if the the Las Vegas Raiders, it would be like if they were in Topeka or Omaha or Des Moines or something like that. That's how close of a rivalry that is. This is the most important game since probably the 60s, because it actually means something. So if you finish one of the top 4 positions on the table in the Premier League, you go to what's called the Champions League, which is the biggest tournament in the world. It's a bigger purse, more club competition type of glory. I mean, you could say the World Cup's a bigger competition, but this is like the best of the best of the best. So that Super League thing that the big clubs were trying to do, that this is what they were trying to supplant by playing God and deciding who gets into March Madness, essentially. So getting into that's important. If you want to be a meaningful club, you have to be in the Champions League. If you want to keep the best players, you have to be in the Champions League. So Arsenal went in 4 points ahead of Tottenham, and Tottenham hosted this match, and they beat the absolute dog snot out of Arsenal. They beat them 3-0, which is the equivalent of winning a NFL football game, something to the effect of like 42-0. And they just Arsenal came out kind of sprightly, and Tottenham just smacked them in the face. They got a penalty because of a foul in the box, put him up, got a guy sent off on a red card because he kept getting aggravated by one of Tottenham's attacking players, and they quickly scored a second goal, added a third. And at the end of the game, like the post game, Tottenham's manager was calling out Arsenal's manager for complaining too much to the referees and complaining about the referees. It was just absolute poetry. Great day for me. They're still down by 1 point from a Champions League spot. So they have to win 2 more matches, and Arsenal does have to slip up. Arsenal still has the win 2 matches and they make it to the Champions League. But it was just great day for soccer, and I was just glued to my TV for that match. And Harry Kane, my favorite player, scored 2 of those 3 goals, including the penalty. And there is nobody that he scored more goals on than Arsenal. There is nobody who scored more goals on Arsenal in North London derbies, which is what you call rivalry games, than him. And so I'm celebrating those goals in a similar way that I would celebrate Derek Thomas putting John Elway on the ground. So that's my final take.
Here.
I like Ted Lasso.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So
Ted Lasso, big fan of that show.
Ted Lasso, the way that he originally started is when NBC Sports Network picked up the Premier League, he was going to be the American coach in London. And so he was going to coach a soccer team, and part of this was a pilot to get Americans into soccer. And so the whole thing was just a joke reel that was like 3 or 4 minutes long, and he's explaining some of the rules. Well, Ted Lasso was going to be the coach of the Tottenham Hotspurs, so he was originally going to be the Spurs coach. And so yeah,
you know what he sounds an awful lot like Bill Self in those videos.
Exactly.
Yes.
So Jason Sudeikis, Jayhawk fan, and Ted Lasso will forever in my mind be tied to the Tottenham Hotspur. And that commercial was great. And I think my favorite line was he was looking at a guy named Gareth Bale, who was the best soccer player in the world at the time, and he always wore orange shoes. So they're on the training ground. He's like, "Who's that with orange shoes?" And they're like, "Well, that's Gareth Bale, sir," because they're explaining rules and players by him and his assistant coach, who actually should have been managing the team, because he didn't know what he was doing. And he's just like, "Oh, is he from England?" He's like, "Oh, he's from Wales, sir." And Ted Lasso goes, "Well, is that another country?" And his assistant goes, "Yes and no." That was my favorite line in the entire.
How many countries are in this country? 4.
Yeah.
Or
exactly.
I like whenever he's like trying to figure out offsides. Like no one really understands how it works.
Yeah.
The guy's like, I understand how it works, but no one really gets it. Like I understand it, and I'm
How
an
is that
American.
offside? Seriously, tell me, how is that offside?
Tell me how this works.
Well, then they have the flashcards. It's just like, all right, so this is a team spends a lot of money. People love him or hate him, and it's Manchester United. He's like, Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboy.
Yeah.
Then he pulls up Liverpool. This isn't accurate anymore because they've won quite a bit here recently. He's like, the team used to be really good, hasn't won anything in a while. It's like, also Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Like, all I know is we're going to beat the Dallas Cowboys and the Dallas Cowboys. And we're going to the playoffs. No playoffs. It's like, no playoffs. Well, we're going to play hard for 4 quarters, win or lose. It's just like, you can tie and we only play halves. And he's just like, wait, hold on. So you can tie and there's no playoffs? Why do we even do this?
He goes, there's no playoffs. He goes, well, my job just got a lot easier.
Right. Yeah. No.
All right.
So the playoffs are making the Champions League. That's it.
Go team.
All right. Well, good night, Chiefs Kingdom, and we'll be back next week.
Cheers.